Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the transit moon conjunct the natal ascendant. Anyway, people. When the transit moon hits your natal ascendant, you could be a lot more emotional during this time, a lot more sensitive. It could even be to derogatory remarks connected with your physical body. If somebody is making even a derisive remark regarding your outlook on life, you could take that a lot more seriously, a lot more personally than you ordinarily would. This transit can also indicate perhaps the mother coming into view more. If your mother had not been around for some time, or the relationship may have dissipated, or she just needed some time off and she needed to find some alone time or what have you. This could be a time where she may resurface. Keep in mind that just when the moon conjuncts the ascendant, I mean, everybody has different orbs. The one I use in the transit, when it's applying 3 degrees, so it's on its way out of the 12th house. The 12th house, of course, is about restrictions and limitations. So when the moon is traversing the 12th house, it could show that the mother may not be around, or at least even in a figurative sense, whether it's for moral, emotional support, or what have you. But as the moon progresses and it gets to that point where it's very close to the ascendant and it's on its way out of the 12th house, then the mother may come into view more and might figure more prominently in your life scheme. Keep in mind, when the moon traverses the first house, this is still very similar, but the effect is not, I don't see it as quite as intense. Keep in mind too that the moon will be in a house on average for about maybe 2 1/3 days, I'd say, because the average house size is, of course, 30 degrees. And of course, the moon goes about, it takes about 28 days to make its full revolution through all 12 zodiac signs. So that's how I get like 2 1/3 uh, as far as that goes. As far as the 2 1/3 days, as far as the average duration in that house. And keep in mind, of course, this could vary because if the house size is a little bit smaller, then it'll be there for a little shorter duration there. If your house size is a little bit bigger than 30 degrees, then of course it'll be there for a little bit of a longer duration. Well, anyway, people, now that's out of the way. Another thing too is you might be a little bit more in touch with your unconscious or intuitive side than usual during this period. You might come across a little bit more temperamental or fickle or moody during this time than otherwise indicated. If you already have an ascendant that's somewhat changeable or mercurial, meaning you have a Gemini ascendant or Pisces or Cancer, I mean, you might even be a little bit more so, but it'll be more noticeable, I think, for somebody that has, say, a more stable ascendant like Taurus or Capricorn, because those signs are very steady and consistent as far as their temperament goes. Now, this could also be a time when not just the mother, but it could even be a dominant female in your life might come into view at this time. Could be somebody, prominent family member even. This could also be a time where you might experience perhaps even some digestive problems, or you might have a little stronger water retention for this short duration where the moon conjuncts the ascendant by transit. But also keep in mind, as I stated before, you might have it for a little bit longer, even because the moon, when it transits the first house, it's very similar, but not as intense, I don't think, as opposed to when it conjuncts the ascendant. The thing too is, what's interesting about this transit, it's a little bit paradoxical, because when the moon hits the ascendant, you might have this need to be more introverted and stay at home a little bit more. But the thing about this too is that, keep in mind, the moon is connected with the public, so you may have more of a desire to be in the public eye as well. There might be a little vacillation here as far as that goes. And I mean, And a lot of it could be dependent on your chart. If you have a more extroverted chart, say you have preponderance of planets above the horizon, say they're in, if you have most of your planets, say, in houses 7 through 12, and you have a lot of planets and astrological energy in masculine signs, then there might be more of a need or desire to go out in the public. But if your chart is rather introverted anyway, then I think you might be a little bit more inclined to be more at home, so to speak, and have a little bit more of that introverted energy. So keep in mind too, this it's a lot. I mean, the sign can influence this transit. I mean, let's say that the moon is in Gemini and it conjuncts your ascendant. You might be more emotional, but it might be really manifold expressions of what you're feeling, and there might be more of a variety of emotions during that time. And if the moon is in a more sensitive sign, such as Cancer or Pisces, then you really can express some very strong emotions perhaps during this transit. In Scorpio, it could be very powerful but convoluted emotions. And also keep in mind that this could be I mean, the transit. There are other. I mean, you could have some contraindicators in your chart, even as far as transits go. I mean, let's say, okay, you're having this transit with the moon, the transit moon conjunct your ascendant, right? But let's say that you also have at the same time transit Saturn making a conjunction to your moon. Well, this could modify this influence a little bit in this delineation, because transit Saturn conjunct your natal moon could wind up putting a little bit of that clamp on the emotions and suppress them a little bit. And let's say another example, let's say that the transit Jupiter is making an adverse aspect to your natal moon. Let's say that it makes a square, opposition, or even an inconjunct by transit to your natal moon. Well, this could show a lot of distortion, vacillation of emotion. You could be expressing a lot of optimism, exuberance, and enthusiasm one minute, then the next minute you might be feeling overly pessimistic and downcast and despondent. So you got to look at all, you got to factor everything into the equation. And as I always say, my view is not to isolate anything in your chart, and that applies to transits as well. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the transit moon conjunct your natal ascendant. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about the transit moon sextile or trine your natal ascendant. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.